on my shoulders.
I've been out basically stacking it all day, so I haven't got a chance to look at all this stuff yet.
Love it. On Thursday when you get it, and Friday and Saturday and Sunday.
No, Thursday was still harvesting to
It's like, I try so hard.
I'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'll note that Pam Wagner is not with us tonight. She is doing whatever she's doing. We have our agenda. Anybody with a motion to approve our agenda?
I move that we approve our agenda.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. See if there's any signed in visitors.
Nope.
Okay, nobody signed in for comment. The consent agenda, any questions about it or motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. And cruising right along, discussion items. A, the AP, Ms. Goodson.
Okay, so for tonight, I've got the results of both our AP exam and our SAT both administered in the spring. So first off, our AP exam, we had, you scroll down to the second page, Lisa. I should have put these the other way around. So I want to start off with the amount of students that we've had has increased. Since, well, for the past 3 years steadily, and those who have scored 3 or above on the AP exam. So that is huge for those the high school and federal work that they've been doing. If you'll scroll back up.
I'm sorry, you said,
The AP exam, so it's the advanced placement exam. That is where students take a really rigorous course for college preparation. And then they can take an exam at the end of that course. And if they score a 3 or higher, that puts them eligible to have for that to count as college credits. So it could be transcribed on their college transcript.
does that mean 3 credits and higher, or what is the 3? I'm sorry.
Yeah, if they score a 3 or higher on
Okay,
the AP exam, when they go to college, they can say, they can transfer that with them and get college classes waived or credit for those college classes.
okay,
They've taken.
that helps, thank you.
Yep, it does. And so we primarily our largest AP exams have been at in the social sciences department, but you can see the breakdown of the different subject totals and what students scored in those. I do want to recognize as part of this, and I'm pulling it up, that we had a Middleton High School student recognized by the College Board National Program. So we had a student who earned outstanding academic achievement, including a GPA of a B+ or higher and top performance on the PISA and or AP exams. She scored a 5 on 2 of our AP exams, which kudos to that student. That is a tremendous amount of work.
That's great.
Is what?
Yes, that was Grace Howell.
Is fantastic for her. That's,
Yes.
wow.
Yep.
So it's 5, like,
As high as you can get. Yeah,
that's amazing.
absolutely.
Well, congratulations to her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most tests require a 3 to pass and get the credit.
It's kind of like a C.
Well, whatever their ranking system is, it's the lowest you can get and still receive the credit for the test that you
I
took.
see.
So 5 is just that much better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we had a total of 76 students in our district take the AP exams last spring. It just takes us a while to get those scores back. So we're happy that we're seeing high school on a positive trajectory on both the number of exams and on the number of students placing a 3 or higher.
And I might just say that when you're adding in that many more students taking exams, you would actually, the normal expectation would be that your passage rate would go down as you increase the number of students that are taking the test, the more people you have, the law of averages will bring that down. So having go up by that many students and increasing the number of students that are passing by the amount that they did is really a testament to what's going on up there.
Fantastic.
And then our SAT results are administered, the state pays for the SAT for all juniors. And so we administer that in the spring, and there are two performance benchmarks that they will evaluate. One is in reading and writing, and the other is in math. So the first, so I'm getting it clear. The screen is when you're gonna see students who met both benchmarks, so in math and in reading and writing. At our level, we have 27% of students who met both benchmarks, and 38% met at least one of those benchmarks. And for reading and writing, we broke it down, so 65% meeting the reading and writing benchmark of students that we assessed, and then go down one more, Lisa. For math, 28% is met that benchmark. So just slightly below where we see the state and US averages on those ones. As a nation, we tend to be lower in math than we do in reading.
Did you also have the comparison with local school districts for?
So if you, well, not local, I haven't run that one yet, Jay, I can run it for you if you want me to. What I've got is a state comparison.
Yeah, it's just, it's interesting to see how we compare to Valley View, Caldwell, and better kind of apples to apple comparison.
Let me see what I can pull for you.
Perfect, thanks.
Are there any questions on that?
I did have one actually, like when we're looking at our comparisons, total district versus state and everything else, and we're in there. This would do what now? Now that we have this information, what kind of detailed information will allow you to drive a plan moving?
We can extract, I would say we can't get down to a super granular level, but within the reading and writing and math structure, we can look at the different components of that and see where we're scoring higher or lower and make some adjustments there moving forward.
Awesome. All right. I guess we can move on. Are you doing this one too? All right. Keep going with Ms. Goodson. Or B, the fetal development video approval.
So in 2025 legislative session, they put forth, our legislators put forth a bill that would require us to have an ultrasound video of fetal development that meets the following criteria. So they outlined very specifically the criteria of what would be needed in a fetal development video. We had to, the law includes students in grades 5 through 12. And so the video that they showed as part of their committee meeting is called the Baby Olivia video, and we've linked it here so that anybody can access it. And so we need board approval to move forward with that video to meet that requirement.
Okay, and in the context of moving forward with it means exactly what? Like it
So we
would be
have
shown.
that that's a video that we can utilize, and we're still working through what that looks like as part of the legislative requirement.
There could be other options that might come up that we would just need the board to approve for it to meet that criteria. So if a teacher's looking at talking about or teaching about human development within their class, and that would be like health biology, those kind of courses, then it would be required that at some point during that instruction, a video about the fetal development of a child is shown. And this is one that would meet the state's criteria. If you as a board approve that, then that's, if the teachers ask, this is what we share. As others come online, we can present those to you as a board, and then a teacher might have a couple of choices, but this is one that kind of fits all the criteria.
What was the review process for this? Is this?
If it met the criteria that the
Okay.
state outlined, and so they gave us like a list that we could look through. And this one met the criteria, and then we ran it by the administrators and had them run it by their teachers, and there was no concern on that with the content of the video.
When do we have to agree upon it? When, like, this meeting, we have to do it?
It's on there as an action item.
It's on
It can be tabled if you as a board choose to table it and want to have further discussion, but it's an option to approve that tonight.
Okay, so.
It's not a part of policy or anything. It's more like a curriculum adoption.
And we have the curriculum.
It's just that one video.
How long is the video?
There's no other thing that teachers have to, no health curriculum,
Well,
like
we
high
already-
school might.
We already have adopted health and biology and those types of
Right.
curriculum. So this is just the piece that because the state changed the law and said we have to have this, we are adding this as a supplement to any of the curriculum that would discuss human development.
Because normally fifth grade teachers don't.
Right, so a fifth grade teacher would not have to, not all classes will show this. Not all,
But it says grades 5 through 12.
For me, Lisa, real quick, it's the LEA serving students in grades 5 through 12 include. So we have the local discretion as to where we place that
Include.
information, correct? So
Oh.
where does it best fit within our scope and sequence of the curriculum to meet the state requirement?
So this is not curriculum
So-
per se, this is just a resource.
It's like a,
It's
yeah,
a
an
supplement.
approved resource, it would have to be an approved resource by you. It's one that meets the criteria by the state.
I haven't had a chance to look at it. Would it be any prejudice to you guys if we tabled it and went to next month?
no, I'd like to table it.
To,
It doesn't change anything for us. It
Yeah.
just,
okay,
we just have to let our teachers know, so.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
But that would be an action for, when we get to action items, you can make that.
and it's not, I don't think it'd be appropriate to view it during the meeting. Otherwise, we'd have to take like a break to watch this 3-minute video if you wanted to vote on it today. But I think that might be better to look at it before we vote on it.
It's really not a offensive video. We
No,
could show it right now if you want.
Yeah, it's
So,
It doesn't matter to me. I don't care.
Yeah, let's just play it.
All right.
This is Olivia.
Okay.
Though she has yet to greet the outside world, she has already completed an amazing journey. This is the moment that life begins. A new human being has come into existence. At fertilization, her gender, ethnicity, hair color, eye color, and countless traits are already determined. She begins to implant in the uterus about 1 week after fertilization. Her cells organize into what we call an embryo. At 3 weeks and 1 day, just 22 days after fertilization, Olivia's heartbeat can be detected. The buds of her arms and legs appear by 4 weeks. She begins to move between 5 and 6 weeks with both spontaneous and reflexive movements. At 6 weeks from fertilization, her brain activity can be recorded and bone formation begins. She can bring her hands together at 7.5 weeks, and separate fingers and toes emerge. She can also begin to hiccup. At the beginning of the 9th week, Olivia will have grown from a single cell into nearly 1 billion cells, and she is now called a fetus. She will suck her thumb and swallow, grasp an object, touch her face, sigh, and stretch. At 11 weeks, she is playing in the womb, moving her body and exploring her environment. Her taste bud cells have matured by week 12, but are still scattered throughout her mouth. Her mother will first sense Olivia's movements between 14 and 18 weeks, an event called quickening. Beginning at 18 weeks, ultrasounds show speaking movements in her voice box. Around 20 weeks, with a lot of help, babies have survived outside the womb. At 27 weeks, her eyes are responding to light. She can recognize her parents' voices and will even recognize lullabies and stories. Olivia has gone on an amazing journey during these last 9 months. She will soon signal to her mother that it is time for delivery and greet the outside world.
Seems pretty benign.
That's fine.
Okay, any other questions on that?
That's a good video.
Okay,
I need to remember.
Thank you, Paige.
Yes.
All right. Next item, C, continuous improvement plan review.
yep, I'm gonna leave this to Lisa. She's gonna walk through this.
So there's two parts to this. There's the part that has the strategic plan on it. And if you remember correctly, we're in our 5th year of the strategic plan. So starting January-ish, we will start to review and put a group together to update the goals that were set in this 5 years ago. And really look at our progress on those and then how we're gonna adjust and then move forward. And so a lot of this first document, the strategic plan, a lot of it hasn't changed. The other thing to remember is the state changed the requirements, so we no longer have to update the narrative every year. We actually are going on the 2nd year of being exempt from doing that because we've met the qualifications. So what we report every year to the state now is the metrics, which is the data side of it. So you'll see throughout this plan, some of it says exemption, and that means that we don't have to report that back to the state in a new format either. So I tried to highlight the portions that we did update through this document for you this year, just so those stood out. And these are the goals that I'm talking about. We'll look at starting again this winter to reset goals and review those. And these were approved by the board, like I said, 5 years ago. And then these are the goals that we set every year as far as performance goes. And so we're once again setting those at 3%. So by spring of 2026, the all student population will increase the number of proficient advanced students in all grade levels by 3% points as measured by the ELA ISAT. And then the same goal for math. And so as Paige shows you that data and we report back on our ISAT data, this is a goal that we work with our administrators and continue to push that 3% every year. And then as we move down in this document, graduation rate. So the 23-24, those numbers are new to the plan this year. So you'll see that the state cohort rate was 89.9%. And these numbers reflect both the academy and the high school students combined. And so we had 363 graduates for both of those schools combined. When we talk cohort, if you remember, those are the students that start as freshmen and then end with us as seniors. That number is 89.9%. When we look at the people who, or the students who start as seniors with us and then graduate with us as seniors, that number is actually 99%. So that's what those two different numbers reflect. And that number was added today because we were finalizing some data. Yeah, yes,
Not one.
yeah, that percent was added today.
Okay.
And then you'll look at our ISAT data pages, reviewed this with you as well, but we've added the 24-25 numbers in here. So we're up 1% in math from last year to this year. We're above the state and 6% above where the state performed on the same ISAT.
So can I ask a question about
absolutely.
that? When you say the state, is that just clumping all the districts together?
Correct.
Big, middle, little?
Yes, all together. So it takes every student that took it in the state and gives us a state average of how they performed.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's really comparing apples to oranges in a
It is.
sense.
A better comparison is when Paige shows you guys this data and she gives you the district by district comparison. You'll see that chart. And you share where she had.
She was gonna
Yeah.
do that.
But she'll share that and then that will break it down by each district and the surrounding districts and the SIC around us. That would be a better apples to apple comparison than the state comparison.
That's one reason I asked for
Yeah,
that. It's just a lot better comparison, different demographics throughout
Yes.
the state.
Yep. And when we have to report these numbers to the state, they're having us compare to the state. And so when I'll show you the next document, which shows the metrics the state is asking us to report
Oh,
back
okay.
to them. And those are bigger numbers, not looking specifically student to student or district to district.
So our goal is another 3%
Yeah,
for both of these. We've gone up
correct.
1%
In both.
kind of consistently.
Yeah.
What are we, like, what are
Damn.
the plans to jump 3%? That's a big jump
It
for,
is, yeah. And it's really, a lot of it goes back to our RTI programs and how we're serving students and how we're looking specifically at individual student needs. It also goes down to how individual schools are using the data in their schools. We do target lists with each school that show a trajectory of students and what they would need to score individually on their ISATs to meet their trajectories. And so the more of those students that we can get to meet their trajectories, the higher this percentage goes for the district. And so those are just a few of the pieces that we put in place. Also the curriculum adoptions that we've done and the change that we've made in our ELA curriculum and reading curriculum this year will be another big component of that, with the intervention pieces that we've purchased for that as well.
Yeah, that will.
So you guys would like to stay with that 3%
Yeah,
increase?
and we would much rather overshoot the goal and shoot for the moon than say 1% and know that we're gonna meet it, right? We would much rather reach for that 3% and do
So-
everything we can to get there.
And this is year 5 right here.
Yeah,
And so we're gonna revamp this.
yeah.
Starting in January.
Okay.
So a new strategic plan with goals and stuff will be presented to the board late spring, early fall next year.
Who basically produces this document?
I can let you.
We put a group together that consists of a couple of, usually there's 2 board members that are part of that process. We identify all the administrators in the district are a part of that. We identify teacher volunteers that are willing to come and be a part. We also have parents that come. And there's even a student component in terms of what we reach out to students and get an idea of what they're looking for as well as we consider that. We don't necessarily have the students come as part of the committee that puts it together,
Right.
but the committee will actually wordsmith the goals and everything that you're looking at there.
Okay, so these 4 goals may stay, may not.
Correct.
And some of it will depend, as we get to the next page, the state report card has changed and the measures the state uses to determine if we're meeting benchmarks according to them have shifted a little bit. And so it's gonna be important for that group to look at those benchmarks and look at how that's reflected in the state report card to determine if the goals we have need to adjust to then meet the new measures of the state as well.
Okay, because how do you sit down and go through and say, these are this is my evidence, for a lack of a better word, that we did meet goal 1 and how we met goal 1,
Yes.
goal 2?
Yeah, and that's what that group will do. And so the last time in the process, what we did is we put those goals on the wall. We then had everybody in the committee work through and write down for us areas they felt like showed that we met the goal, areas that they feel like showed we didn't meet the goal. And then we discussed that progress and discussed those things that were brought up and determined what we could do to do better. And there were some goals that we decided, no, we met that goal in the old plan. And so it didn't make sense for us to add that goal back in the same format that it was.
Yeah. So you do that after 5 years. What about doing it after year 1, year 2?
And we have been.
Have you?
No, you go ahead.
Okay.
Well, yeah, so we've been working through that process and we do continue, like, those goals drive the decisions that we've been making throughout these 5 years.
Okay.
And so as we look to make decisions, whether it's curricular, extracurricular, whatever it might be, especially like the CTE, we have the goal in there regarding CTE.
Yeah. I saw
Obviously,
that.
you see a lot of things that have come to fruition to meet that goal, right?
Mhm.
And so a lot of the decisions we make as we move through those 5 years are specifically aligned to these goals as we make those decisions.
Okay. Yeah, my concern mainly is goal 3, increasing achievement across all subject areas.
Mhm.
And I know that's a big, all subject areas, that's a big.
It is.
Ambitious.
Can you drop it down to, can you add another goal that talks about math and and reading?
specifically instead of all.
We can,
How,
as a group, we can make this anything we want, because this is our strategic plan. It doesn't have to fit
Okay.
a mold that's set by the state.
okay,
There are specific state criteria and state measurements that they'll want to know every year,
yeah,
but it's kind of folded into the strategic plan. So as we start working through this in January and presenting it to you as a board, that's what that whole process is about, is getting it to a goal that we feel comfortable with moving
Okay.
forward on.
I'll see.
Any other questions on this piece? Okay, I'm gonna show you, so this is, and I'm gonna just scroll past, it didn't download removing these pieces. These first like 14 pages are just the example, so I don't wanna make anybody sick here, but I'm gonna just scroll past this. And so this starts ours, and this is what I was talking about as far as the state report card goes. So the state has updated this, and so you'll see that there's the achievement, the growth, and the success indicators. And so I don't know how many of our patrons or how many of our board members, how many even of our teachers know that this exists out there, right? And so this shows achievement measures meet state goal or target. So it will tell you if we met it, it will tell you if we didn't meet it. And so when I'm talking about when that group starts meeting again, the indicators the state now requires us to meet, whether it's achievement, growth, success indicators, those will be important topics as we work through setting new goals as well.
Just idahoreportcard.org.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and I can email you guys the link to that too,
Be great.
so you can jump in and see. And then you can jump into each of those. It will give you student breakdown, the college and career readiness. So it goes, you can click into several layers of data. It'll show you the past year's data, graduation rate, it gives you the cohort rates, but you'll see in there, there's a lot of data. And like I said, this will drive a lot of the work we do as we update the strategic plan as
That's
well.
good. I'd like
Yeah.
to look at that
Yeah.
and see how it helps us.
And so then really what happens is the state has that report card and then they ask us to take that data and put it on this template for them. So we pull the data from that and report back on this spreadsheet.
Okay,
And so it focuses on the graduation rate, on proficiency and growth in 8th grade math, 8th grade ELA, 6th grade math, 6th grade ELA, and 4th grade. And then it also on our kinder through 3rd grade IRI, so our reading assessment as well. And so we set targets on here. And so the reason I showed you that other page is because, like I'll say, if we look at percent of students who scored proficient on grade 8 math, so this first right here, when you see 50% and we're gonna set a new target at 47%, you might ask, why would we set a target that's lower than what we met the year before? But we're looking at a different group of students. And so we have to go back and look at last year's 7th graders to then set the goal for this year's 8th graders. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Whereas the 50% is showing how last year's 8th graders performed. So sometimes you'll see some variance in those percentages and wonder why would we increase by so much or decrease that target by so much? But that's why you'll see the variance, is because it doesn't put them side to side to where you're looking at the same group of students.
Like, what are the different things that would impact last year's 7th graders versus this year's 7th graders coming into 8th grade and this goal and this score? Like, I mean, what are the types of things? People that have moved in, like just
Always people. that
Curriculum
moved in,
struggles?
Curriculum changes
Okay.
can be a change. Some of these groups are still students that were impacted by COVID. So we're still looking at some groups where we're watching recovery numbers as we've gone through because they were in 2nd grade during COVID versus those that were in kindergarten during COVID. And then some of it just depends on students, and some classes, we have different demographics than other classes. And so we look at kind of all of those different things. And then as far as kinder goes, another thing that I wanted to bring up as well is since we've implemented full day kinder, we are seeing that kinder number as far as proficient on their reading test increase.
Mhm.
So we're continuing to increase our target the more that we've had full day kinder as well. And then the last pieces that we talk about is there's just some college and career goals that we look at. And so the Middleton Academy does post-high school planning for all 12th grade students. Our target is always 100% to make sure that 100% of those kids have that post-secondary plan. And we've been meeting that. And then also that the high school provide post-secondary contact through college and career advising. And then we go off the 9th through 12th grade enrollment. And so we make sure that every student 9th through 12th has that college and career advising while they're in high school as well. Any questions? Superintendent Key, anything else that you wanted to touch on?
I'm good.
Okay.
I can ask individually.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Next on our agenda, item D, portable classroom order request.
Yes, so as we had discussed last meeting, or maybe it was our July meeting, we are going to need additional classroom spaces for the students as we make the adjustments for Purple Sage and kind of balancing those elementaries. As you recall, we didn't have the space to move all of the students to make that balanced with this summer, and we couldn't get those portables in place and everything in time. So we looked, we decided to break that into 2 phases. We did the first phase this summer, and it resulted, after everything settled out, at about 100 new students moving from the Heights zone over to Purple Sage. But in order to make that fully balanced across the district, we need to do one more phase, and we've informed parents that that is something that we'll be looking at in this next spring. But in order to prepare for that, we are going to need additional classroom space at Purple Sage Elementary. And to do that, have that additional classroom space, we would need equivalent of 4 classrooms, 2 portables with 2 classrooms each. The goal, we had talked about several different options that we could look at in lieu of doing portables, like building additional classrooms onto Purple Sage. But one of the issues that we start running into, the cost would be a little bit higher, but it would be permanent. But there's an extra cost because of the water system up at Purple Sage. It's an independent water system. It's got wells that are actually connected with some of the emergency response plans up there. Right. Additionally, as we add those classrooms on, there'd be almost certainly, we didn't go through the whole process, almost certainly a requirement to add additional drain field space, which would then obviously increase the overall price to make those adjustments. As a result, I am recommending, based on our work with our team, to go ahead and approve the purchase of those portable classrooms at Purple Sage now, so that we're able to get them ordered, get them in place. And this would actually, right now, I think some of you as board members were able to visit Purple Sage, and you saw that there are services being held in our library that make it so hard for the library to act as a library. There are some other services that are going from classroom to classroom because they don't like a music going classroom to classroom. We'd like to be able to get those extra services relocated as quickly as possible. And if we were to order these portables now, the gentleman that we've been working with has indicated that he believes he could have those in place by January. And that would allow, this January. So that would allow us to get those things moving and get those classes, those extra classes moved, and get Purple Sage back to a little bit more of their normal processes. So that's what we would like to do. Additionally, as we've been increasing at the high school, I sent a message to you as a board and letting you know kind of our capacities. The high school has hit capacity, the middle school has hit capacity, 2 of our 3 elementaries are at capacity. As a result, we've actually had to move some of our additional service spaces that we've been utilizing classrooms at the high school. For instance, our technology department was utilizing. Nick, how many classrooms were you using up at the high school?
2 full classrooms most recently, but we have 1 for storage as well.
Right, so there were 3 total with the storage. So they were utilizing 3 classroom spaces, but we needed those classroom spaces because of the increased number of students there. So we moved the technology offices to different places within the district. We have 1 at Mill Creek, 1 at Heights, and then storage is,
Well, we still have 1 at the high school.
okay, the storage is being used.
We'll lose.
Right. So what I would also recommend to the board is purchasing a 3rd portable classroom that we would place over by our food services, our instructional specialists over here by the middle school. There are 3 portables there right now,
Those portables, okay.
where we could make a more permanent location for our technology offices. Right now, they're being bumped from one place to the other as we continue to grow. The spaces they're taking up at Heights and Mill Creek are just going to be needed again soon for students. And so in our process here of providing spaces, we'd like to recommend that we include that space for that 3rd portable. The documents that we shared with you, there were 2 different bids. One was a bid for 2 dry portables, meaning no restrooms, and those would be the ones that we would put at Purple Sage. And then there was one with a restroom, and that was the other document, which came to a total for that one of $302,000. These costs that are included here, and Mrs. Krantz, please correct me if I'm incorrect here, include all the permitting, installation, everything that goes into putting them in place. Is that?
Except for the water that's connected back here.
The water hookup.
Right.
Right, so we would have to do the water hookup, but all of the other pieces are included there. What it comes out when you add the 2 bids together for the 3 total portables, you have $886,000 total, which, if you're splitting that up, that's $295,000 per. When we were doing our last purchase of portables, it was about $250,000, but it didn't necessarily include all of those other permitting and things, and the cost has increased.
Yeah.
Of course.
Between those things. And so we would recommend that the board consider doing that. And if I could ask Mr. Davis to speak a little bit to just the need for that space as a technology, that would help.
Yeah, just thank you so much for letting me have this opportunity to talk to you guys about this. So just a little history on where we've been as a technology department. So we relocated, I think 3 times over the last few years since 2021. And it's mostly been because of aging buildings. I don't know if you remember, we were over by this maintenance old food service building a while back. And we went to the high school, and then more recently moved to Mill Creek and Heights. So just, beyond the loss of time and productivity associated with moving, it would just be obviously a great option for us to have a more permanent location where we can be. I think it would be great for the team morale and kind of just centralizing us, and getting us more in a location that's neutral and closer. This is a good central location, this area here where we used to be. We kind of realized that when we moved away, we missed that, and it was nice to have us centralized here. So it would help us focus on what we do best, which is ensuring that every student and teacher has the tech resources they need. And so I appreciate your consideration.
Any questions for Mr.?
Yeah, so if a portable, would that have the infrastructure you needed data wise and things like that to make sure everything was good to go, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's yes and no. I mean, it's not ideal. I mean, I don't think anybody would say portable classrooms aren't ideal either, right? But it would be better than what we've got now, where we're kind of spread out. And so it would just, I think, I would like, if possible, the guys to say a couple words of why they feel like it would be better for us as well, because I know they've expressed some needs on the team as far as, having a more central location where we can get together, have meetings, would be better for us too. So like, if any of you are willing to do that, it would be helpful in this meeting. I'm certainly willing to field more questions.
I'm Ryan Simpleton. I'm the lead tech here. I've been here for about 5 years, and as you were saying, we've bounced around quite a bit. We went from Red Brick to the high school, and now, as you said, split amongst multiple buildings. And I didn't realize the impact that would actually have on us as a unit, as a team, a unit. The morale has gone down in the sense of we don't have a communal space to really get together, to have meetings, team building, any sort of trainings we need to do as a group to spend time together to honestly just remind each other that we are part of one department instead of a guy at each school who's kind of on an island. And we've made do. We used to have that space where we were all able to work together, teach each other, grow to better service everybody in this district. And then we went to the high school and we became a little bit splintered, but we made it work because we still have a big classroom that we were able to share. And now we're even more splintered and we have offices that are smaller than any of these rooms. We have one big space, which is Nick's office. And I don't know about you guys, but spending a bunch of time in your boss's office is not exactly ideal for just growing closer. And through conversations with our team, I've seen it, experienced it, heard it, how much it is impacting them. So to have that space again would really just improve the entire department, which is what we all want, is a better cohesive department, is better for the entire district.
Cool.
So that's.
So there's just the four of you in as a team?
There is 3 other individuals
Oh,
who
okay.
are not able to make it today.
Yeah, there's others
7.
too. Right now, we've gone to a different structure more recently. I can speak to that. We thought it would be better, just better support of the district to have techs at each location. So we're kind of restructuring the department in some, in a way, and that's been great. I think, administration and staff generally like that. It's better response times. But it does come with, caveats, obviously, and this is part of it. And that wouldn't fix all of that, but it would certainly give us a central location that hopefully we wouldn't have to move in a while, which would be nice. And have our storage closer, have the district office closer. There's just a lot of benefits to being on this campus, we feel like, and then having a central office where at least me and Ryan and a few of us are there, and then the other teams can meet there as well.
So what was your idea of how that would operate? Like one side offices, one side storage, or all offices and then storage somewhere else?
Yeah, ideally, I think this is proposed as an alternative, a classroom space as well.
Mhm.
And that's okay. Ideally, that wouldn't be what we want, but we will obviously work with that because it would be better than what we've got currently. Ideally, it would be, a portable or a building with one bathroom, couple offices, and a big area that we could have, benches for testing and storage and the conference room, kind of the conference area, place for meeting, a bigger space. But certainly having 2 rooms with bathroom, would be better than we currently have. So.
And Mr. Davis, do you consider this a permanent solution? Would this be something that could last for many years, do you think?
Yes, I think it could be a semi-permanent. I'd go with semi-permanent. I think ultimately it'd be better to have a building that you could, portables are temporary in some degree, right? Let's be honest. And so, yes, it would be for the middle to long term, it would be permanent, but I think ultimately a new building or something Dr. Gee and I have talked about, solution. I don't know if he's mentioned it to you about the behind the annex.
Yeah, we haven't said anything.
There's been ideas that we've thrown out.
Brainstorming.
Of different options for the future of maintenance and food service and technology, just to kind of have a better solution for that. As you know, the food service is in an old portable currently. And so, no, not long term, but certainly longer term than what we're currently at, because Mill Creek's gonna need their classroom back, Heights is probably gonna need their room back, as you know.
And as we've been looking at permanent structures, one of the things we've been looking at primarily is, the first permanent structure we're trying to get is that elementary school.
Right.
And so until we can get, permanent structures for our elementary students and for our students, we're looking at more temporary spaces for the other support areas. And that's what we've got over there. Ideally, you would have a district office that had all of those services right there in the same place, but our priority is getting those elementary kids taken care of. But these would be things we could go, 3 to 5 to 7 years, which would allow for us to develop other solutions.
Yeah, just theoretically, I mean, a double wide could last 20, 30 years. I mean,
Yeah, we've got some over at Heights that are, I think, over 10 years old.
Yeah, it's 50 years goes by pretty fast. That's the last time I was in brick building, by the way,
Oh, yeah.
50 years ago. It's still there. I mean, and these double wides, I mean, I see them 50 years old, they're still there, but I know that's not an ideal situation, but yeah.
It's better than anything that's been proposed to us until now. So we would just, a permanent location or semi-permanent for us would be a big difference.
It's
Any other-
something that I don't see a non-use for it in the future. It's not like our growth is just too fast to not end up using them somewhere. Even with whatever we come up with in the future to handle the growth, so.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nick. Appreciate it. Any other questions on the portables?
Generally, I just had a couple of questions, follow up. Well, one is the fact that this portable they're proposing for these guys does have a restroom. And whenever I've gone to the elementary schools, the biggest complaint I get from the elementary teachers is that their portables don't have restrooms. So I'm just wondering about the feasibility of having these other two.
It's more about the location. We were able to put a restroom facility on the one that was closest to Mill Creek. And so that one has restroom facilities. But when you start pulling them further away and connecting them to city sewer systems, it's a little bit more challenging. Where we're looking at placing that one, there's already existing water and sewage because we had all those portables out there when the fire came through.
Yeah.
And so we would still have to hook it up, but most of that apparatus is there. And so that's the reason we'd be looking at it in that particular location.
That makes total sense. And then at Purple Sage, you were talking about the well and drain fields. Would the drain field actually have to be moved to add on to the school, or is that?
No, it's more to add to the capacity when you add a permanent structure to the building.
It's just the concern I have about that is when you're adding portables, you're still adding that many more people on the same drain field, the same utilities. So even though it's unofficial, but
Like those bathroom facilities are the biggest struggle of all of our schools with these portables is like they almost have to time it, like hold it for 5 more minutes because it's our turn next.
Yeah.
And that's tough for some of those younger classes because we even got some of that feedback from the teachers. Like it's tough to take 25 kids all to the bathroom in the span of a short amount of time. Like hurry up, kids, and make it happen. So.
Well, from what we've looked at thus far, the capacity is there right now. It's just if you were adding the permanent structure, the code requirements would be there to increase that. So we don't know that we want to go more than 2-3 portable units out there before we start looking at that because of the number of students. But it was originally designed for that number of students that we're looking to get to, because it's still a bit under that capacity. And so we get it up to capacity, then we're hitting what the drain field was originally designed to hold.
There's this discussion, I thought that's why we have our engineer here.
Well, we've got, if you would like to ask some questions, I'm sure she'd be happy to answer. She's here for another part of our presentation, but.
Yeah, the other part of this is, of course, the timing to add on the school. I imagine that would take a year or two of
planning and building design where this is gonna be installed in January is the big difference.
And, yeah, and LKV was was the architect for Purple Sage. Do you want to speak just a little bit to those pieces, Amber? Thank you.
So, yeah, thank you. I think it's probably, given your need, it's probably the wisest choice is to head with the relocatable classrooms. You know, I'm an architect, of course, we don't like to see districts do that, but it is a kind of a quick solution for you. Adding on to Purple Sage comes with its complexities. I mean, you do not have city services out there. Everything's on a leach field, you're on a well system. Anytime we add on to that facilities and the requirements for reassessing what the capacity is of that septic system and of your water system comes into play. Regardless of whether or not we all think there's capacity there, that's out of our hands. And it would go through a review, and that building's old enough now that we are falling into a new code cycle. Actually, 2 different code cycles have occurred since Purple Sage was built. And the requirements for restroom facilities for educational use has increased dramatically. So not only would we be adding on, 4 more classrooms onto that facility, we would most likely, I haven't run the numbers, but I'm fairly confident to say that we would have to be adding additional restroom facilities. So it just kind of starts to snowball, and Superintendent Gee and I have talked about this at length, and I really think from a money perspective, this is probably your best solution. You would be looking at a project that would be well exceeding the $2-3 million mark to add 4 classrooms onto Purple Sage.
That's what I was guessing, but one other question about that, and this is again, just because these teachers keep asking about restrooms for portables. How feasible would it be to add an additional separate drain field if you were to have a portable with a restroom?
I mean, yes, you could probably get approval to do that, but again, the approval process, it wouldn't be a residential system. You would have to fall under a commercial system. The review process for that, you would need to be hiring me and my engineers to go do that, and just the price point on something like that to add a couple more restrooms, just maybe not the wisest use of your dollars.
The other thing that was brought up at Mill Creek was the idea about because there's quite a few portables there, having just a restroom facility added, and that would be the same problem.
Yeah.
If you'd have to engineer and, well, at least with there's city utilities, so you could just hook up to it.
Yeah, I mean, if you had access to city services, then this discussion just comes down to a dollar amount. But Purple Sage is just so difficult because you just don't have that opportunity out there.
And there would be some timing we'd have to be looking at just because of the sewer capacity in Middleton itself right now. So those are some things that the city has taken some steps to build that up, but that's going to be years down the road to have that in place.
Yeah, and that helps a
How many
lot.
septic tanks are out there?
Septic.
Yeah, is the septic system okay?
No, it's fine up there now, but it's still
Adding these portables though
Yeah.
is just a drain field?
Well, we don't
I
even
mean,
have to do
excuse
that
me, no, I meant
if we add it
No
on.
bathroom.
if we add it on.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
That
Thank
helps a
you,
lot.
Amber.
Thank you, Amber.
Appreciate it. Any other questions on the portables?
Nope, doesn't look like it. All right, agenda item E, Public School Facilities Cooperative Fund Application.
Okay, and on I just want to make a note that on the agenda, it has grant in there. What we're talking about is not a grant. That was a error to include that word there. So, I'm going to go over a quick summary of a program that we're considering looking at, and we would need the board's approval to proceed. Amber's going to help add some detail to that as we go through. But, obviously we've been looking at different ways to build our elementary school, and since the bond did not pass. Another way that we have looked at, the state of Idaho has had what they call the Public School Facilities Cooperative Fund for years, 20, 30 years at least. However, in the past, the process for gaining access to those funds and paying those funds back has been a little bit more challenging for a school district to actually take advantage of. And in our last legislative session, there were changes made to that fund that made those funds more accessible to school districts. They have $50 million in that fund at the state level, and they've gone through one round of applications to utilize the funds, and it's designed to help schools that are trying to build up broken down facilities, unsafe facilities, those kind of things. Schools that have not been passing bond, that have not been able to pass bonds for years, and so their schools are deteriorating, their conditions are deteriorating. There's a method within that's allowed within that application process that we think we could utilize to the advantage of Middleton School District in a way that would help us possibly build a portion of the elementary school we've been discussing over the last several years. So what that would include would be essentially a process where we would evaluate our current permanent facilities that we have available. Now, if you look across our school district, the only facility that we have available that is not currently being used are these facilities over on the other side. The old red brick building, what we were using for maintenance, the rec center, those facilities. Focusing a lot of our attention on the red brick building, and as I'm discussing, I'll be focusing on that, but we've kind of done an evaluation of all those buildings as well. If you take the red brick building, it was an elementary school. It has a cafeteria, it has classrooms, it has restroom facilities, all of that. I believe some of our board members attended school in those buildings. But we have not been using that since we removed the technology folks from there. That happened when the boiler went out. And we determined that we just weren't going to try and put a whole lot of money into that because we just didn't know how it was going to be used. And we recognized the condition of the building. So we removed the permanent offices from that facility and started using it primarily as storage. But as we've gone along, that is a permanent facility that meets the kind of fits that criteria of permanent school facilities. So what we would do is we would make an application to the state to look at that facility. Now, what we've done in that process is we've gone through an evaluation to find out what it would cost. And I'm going to go into detail on that a little bit, but what we would then do is say, it's going to cost, and I'm just going to throw out the number, $10 million to bring that building up to code so that we could put kids in it and utilize it for classrooms. However, for the square footage that we get for that $10 million, we could build a new building or portions of a new building that would be much more significant and more efficient use of the dollars. In general, building new is always going to be better than trying to refurbish old. So what we would say is that we would apply based on the condition of the red brick building and say it doesn't meet safety standards. We would need this much money to build it up. But what we'd rather do is utilize that money together with the $8 million that you as a board had set aside to help build an elementary school, put that money together and build essentially half of the elementary school that we proposed. It would have the administrative offices, it would have a gym, cafeteria combination, and it would have, one wing of those classrooms, which would allow us to move forward with building an elementary school, which also would be built in a way that we could continue to add on as other funds became available. At that point, bonding to build that school might be a little bit more easy, or might be more appealing to our constituents because we would bond for $6 or $7 million instead of $20 million. So it could create an opportunity, and there were in this last round that was approved, there was at least one school district that did almost exactly that and was granted the funds. If we went through that process, we'd actually have to go one more time. Like if we went to the state and they said, yes, that's enough, that would be approved, we would have to go one more time to our constituents to see if they would approve the bond. If they approved it, then we would use the taxpayer dollars here. If they didn't, then these funds, because they've been approved by the state, would then come to us and we could then combine them with that 8 million of our modernization funds to build half of an elementary school. This application is due in October of this year, which means that, which is why we're asking for approval to go forward with this process in this meeting, so that we can get that application together and get it submitted to the state. But if I could turn the time over to Amber from LKV, I'd like her to explain a little bit about the process we've gone through to evaluate the condition of the building and the steps we've taken and the experts we've had involved. And then maybe Amber, if you could talk a little bit about the construction of that building at the elementary school as doing a half.
Sure. Thank you. So there was 5 school districts that have already gone through this process, and we've helped out with a couple of them. My firm has. Boundary School District applied for 13.1 million. Very, very similar approach. They analyzed some existing buildings that would have to be renovated, and the state wisely said, we'll give you your money, don't put money into existing renovation, build new. Same sort of approach. Camas School District got 1.7. Salmon, we've all heard about Salmon's issues. They got 9. Filer got 3.3. Payette got 2.1. So this is a really good opportunity for the district. The state has recognized that they've had this funding mechanism that gets refunded every year, basically. And it was being underutilized because some of the language of the legislation made it very, very difficult for school districts to apply to meet the requirements. So that went through a full legislative rework, knowing that there was an opportunity out there. It's really geared around making sure that districts are tackling safety and security problems, tackling, ongoing maintenance problems that they just can't fund through, regular voter applied methods. But part of the application process is to have architects and engineers, construction companies actually provide an analysis, which is great. The state isn't just rubber stamping this stuff. They've set up a committee. They're really looking at these applications and taking them seriously and then deciding on the monies. So what we've done is I came out with my team, ESI, your designated CM that you guys have brought on. They also were with me. We went through the 3 facilities. So the red brick facility, the maintenance piece, which is just to the north of it, and then the existing gym building, your community center facility. We had the fire marshal was with us and building official. So the whole premise of it was to be able to go through these facilities, identify what I can identify just by a visual inspection on things that I know that we're going to need to upgrade. Your city officials could identify then things that they understand they would require from us. And, those come down to, appropriate fire alarm system, appropriate fire sprinkler system, access, ADA concerns. So we developed a summary of all of that, an outline, which will be part of what Superintendent Gee submits to the state. We're attaching cost estimating to each one of those buildings, cost estimating to what would have to happen on the site. So if you were to turn those facilities back into an education use, obviously there's lots of things on the site that needs to be taken care of. There needs to be play areas developed. There needs to be proper, parent drop off and pick up access points. So that was all put into a report that we prepared and that will get submitted to the state. And the analysis basically, has our recommendation saying, this is what we think it's gonna cost. We're breaking it down to each 3 building. So if the state, we're hearing that they're gonna get, some other applications in this next round. So if they wanted as a committee to review each building independently, they would have the opportunity to do that. Or take them all as one package. They would also have the opportunity to do that. It kind of gives us a little bit of options as far as funding sources. So that's that piece. I mean, it's due, the application is due like the 6th,
Yeah.
I think.
October
And then
6th.
they'll make a decision by the 15th. And once they make that decision, it's pretty much done. You've been then authorized to receive these monies. The next step is just what Superintendent Gee said, that you still have to go to your voters, ask if they would basically reconsider and pay for that. And if that bond election fails, then the state steps in and gives you the money. So it's really geared towards the smaller districts. You're not gonna see a Boise or a West Ada or a Lewiston or a Coeur d'Alene. That's not the intent of the legislation. It's really for the smaller districts that are struggling getting bond elections to pass.
So they need to see what options are available. So you have to show what could happen with their old buildings, and then compare that to, this is what we could build as far as new with the same money.
Correct. What they're trying to say is, we get it, you've got aged facilities, renovating those facilities is an option, but we can make a really strong argument because you've got donated land, you've got this great site sitting there. What if we were just to build half of this facility? And then those state dollars are going to be used in a much more efficient way. And that's really, quite honestly, what the State Board of Education is really looking for. They're looking to say, okay, we're gonna give you this money. How are you gonna best use it? And so that's where, Boundary made that decision. And it was, looked upon favorably by this committee.
So it's not it's not a legislator thing, it's the State Board of Ed?
Yeah, they've already appropriated the money to the state, to
Okay,
the Department of Education. That's a better way
okay,
to say that.
Department of Ed.
So that's already legislatively has happened.
Okay.
So that money's just sitting there. And now they're going through an application process to try to get the districts the money that qualify.
And there will likely not be a 3rd round.
I would assume not, that the money's probably gonna get utilized in this next round.
I have many fond memories of these buildings over here, but it seems like once you did the asbestos abatement, there wouldn't be much left, would there?
Yeah, so what we, it's a really good comment. What we've identified with the Red Brick building is extensive. That there's asbestos throughout that entire building, needs a new roof, it needs a complete mechanical upgrade on it. The fire sprinkler system does not meet current code. The fire alarm system, even though it's operational, also does not meet current code. And then you start taking in just the education aspect of that space. So we would be replacing all finishes, so carpet and paint and door hardware and
Windows.
yeah, it's got single pane windows. There's just a lot of things that even though it's functioning right now as a storage space for you, it would take a lot to put kids and faculty back into that space.
Yeah, we were fine with not having AC and all that stuff 50 years ago.
Nope, had AC
Yeah.
50 years
And so we've also gone through an exercise where we've redesigned the elementary school design slightly to make it work, that it'd be about just under 40,000 square feet. You'd have about 17 classrooms. You'd have a full cafeteria, not a full gym, but, we flipped to the gym and the cafeteria. You'd have a full gym, but not a cafeteria. And that gym would be utilized as a cafeteria space, full admin, library area. So it's just under 40,000 square feet. And it would give you pretty much half your facility moving forward.
Do we know, are we gonna be more like Boundary County and get 10 million or more like Filer or?
No way to really, because I think that what all those schools got, the full amount that they requested, if I'm correct.
That's right.
So they didn't ask for more and get less. They got what they asked for.
Better ask for as much as we can then.
And that's one of the reasons for providing the different options of those different buildings, so that they have different values that they can be looking at. We just need to make sure that it would meet the need that we have to be able to take those funds and combine them with our modernization to build that portion of the elementary school.
And Boundary was doing the same. They were taking the money that they just got appropriated out of House Bill 338 and their appropriation on their modernization funds, and they were putting them together.
Oh.
And so this committee that was formed to make these decisions thought that that was just really a fantastic way to utilize their modernization funds and, you know, this avenue of additional dollars and really build something that has value and is gonna last for 60 or 70 years.
Any questions on that? I'll just give you a quick rundown on the payback, and Amber, just correct me if I'm wrong here. We should have Eric here to do that, but the payback of this is based on the dollars that come in that right now are paying off our bond. So this year we got about $3.7 million to help pay off our bond.
From the state.
From the state, yeah, from the state, to help pay that off, that our taxpayers don't have to pay. That money is what would be used to pay back. If the district has already utilized those dollars to pay off a bond, there's no requirement for payment that year. So it goes year by year over 20 years. So we would not, as we were paying off, finishing our bond, there'd be no payment that we're responsible for over those years. Once our bond is paid off, then we would use those same dollars to help pay off whatever the state had provided to us. Again, not coming from our general fund, but coming from state dollars that are already being appropriated. So it really would be a positive thing, because the state would get paid back, but it would not be at the expense of our general fund or our taxpayers to be able to make that happen. And that's fairly accurate.
Did well.
So that is, again, another benefit to that. So this would be just something that you as a board would need to provide the approval for the district to submit an application for the Public School Facilities Cooperative Fund.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Amber.
Yes,
Appreciate it.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, on to agenda item F. Discussion of the booster framework.
Yes, and this is just the final follow-up before we start working towards a policy. If there are any other additional considerations you would like us to take as we start looking at policy regarding our booster club. These are ways that we would work with, in partnership with Education Foundation. It would be how we would provide the transparency and financial accountability for that, the booster club, so that people who are donating know how things are, where the funds are going. And if it's coming to a program that the school supports, that they are able to provide that kind of transparency and just works through that cooperation. And so if there are things that you would like to add to that or discuss further, now we could discuss that here, and then our plan would be to bring next month a policy based on this framework.
The open books that this involves would run through
Our Education Foundation.
Education Foundation, and that would be still technically public
Yeah.
access.
No, it would be public access because they are a public, a nonprofit organization that receives some government funding. So it wouldn't be on our books, but it would be something that we have knowledge of, we can request that information, and others within the community could request that information as well.
I mean, I think that getting this organized under one umbrella is a good thing for us. I just want to, if we're going to do it in the name of transparency, then we should really make sure that there's a clear path for transparency in a way that's really simple for people to request the information that's pertinent to.
Right, and so if it's run through the school district or the Education Foundation, there are very clear ways for anybody to be able to inspect and have knowledge of those accounts and how the money's used. Any questions on that? Again, this is just kind of a final, if there's anything, last thing before we start building a policy.
I can't think of anything right now.
That's all I've got then.
All right, and then on to supplemental levy public discussion opportunity.
Okay, just wanted to kind of go through some of the opportunities we'll be looking at. And we're just waiting for a follow-up, but the city council has offered, when I talked with the mayor, she initially said the September city council meeting, but she said it may end up being the October city council meeting, just to give an opportunity to kind of get a state of the district and what we're looking at as far as the supplemental levy. She also said that looking at some of the donations that we have coming in. So I think one thing that we're running into, and it would be a good forum to be able to share, is the practice soccer fields that have had that turf added this year. There are a lot of our community that believe that that was funded by the district. And so they look at that and say, well, if it's funded by the district and they can do that, why do I need to support a supplemental levy? And so we want to make sure that we take every opportunity to make sure people understand that that field was donated, that the only funds that went in from the district were things like getting a sidewalk to it, fixing a fence around it. The field itself was donated, and well over $1 million from an outside donor, not from district funds. So we'd make that clear, help people understand how we've been utilizing some of the funds we have and received from the state to build our CTE building. But then we'd hold 3 different community meetings as general full community meetings, Heights, the high school, and the middle school, on those different dates that are listed there. These would be the traditional. We'll have all the information we can. Anybody that would like to come and ask questions are able to do so. If we would make ourselves available throughout the process, if there are people that want us to come and talk. It's not as common on the supplemental levy to have those kind of meetings, but anybody that requested it, we would do so. We have a newsletter that'll be going out in October, because that article in October will also be focused on the supplemental levy and how it's being used. Social media and website will have continual updates. We'll be conducting staff meetings. We'll be meeting with PTOs over the next few months, just to get the information out about how it'll be used. As we discussed last time, some of the big things that we'll be looking at. Something that has an effect on a lot of families is the pay to play. The supplemental levy allows for that to be that fee to be very minimal. We'd be looking at our security, SROs and security officers, looking at how we pay for curriculum. There's a number of aide and teacher positions that we fund through those positions. And one of the things I want to make sure that is clear, that there's no particular teacher that's tied to a supplemental levy. If for some reason we were to lose the supplemental levy, we would be looking at just not rehiring some of the positions that come. We will have anywhere from 10 to 25 positions in any given year. So we wouldn't be looking at having to fire somebody, but that position would not be available the next year if the supplemental levy didn't pass, and helping people understand that those positions, classified positions, are all pulled from this so that they understand what would be lost if they didn't vote for it. So those are some of the things that we're looking at to promote the supplemental levy. If there's any suggestions or thoughts that you have, happy to add those to it, but that's our staff will be working on over the next couple months.
I think the constant struggle is just helping people understand the difference between a levy and a bond.
Yep.
And why we would go ask for additional funds to run the school.
Right.
There's a lot of details within that we.
Do we know, does the ambulance or fire department, are they gonna be asking for money again on that?
I believe they are, but I never actually I haven't seen the official, it had to be done by the 29th of August, but I haven't seen what is going to be on the ballot yet.
Yeah, I guess the last, for a bond, we were actually third. I thought it was gonna rotate, but we were behind the fire department, ambulance, than us. So we had three, different questions that people are asked for money, and I just hope we're not in that situation again where we're.
Yeah, and I was under the impression that both the ambulance and fire department were going to be running again.
Okay.
But I'll find out for sure.
Hopefully we could be the first ones.
Right. Though I don't know that worked out too well for either of them the last time.
No.
So that is all I have to share on the supplemental levy.
Okay. Next is going to be policy review, but if there's some students that need to get home and do homework before we get into this really exciting part where we read ad nauseum and you need to get something signed off, you're welcome to run up here and get some signatures.
And I think they should all ask for bonus points because they were here the first.
Section 7 on our agenda, we've got a first reading of some health, notice of health services.
Yep, so we brought this back forward for a first reading. We just approved this not long ago, but as we went through the registration process this year, there's a paragraph in there that just caused pause with some patrons, and we want to make sure that we clarify and possibly remove that language or adjust that language so then it's not in question. And so I highlighted the portion that was, that we got lots of questions on, and it talks about invasive physical examination. And at the end of the day, this is a section that's part of the law that came into effect and then was then put in the policy, but we don't do invasive physical examinations. So we can work through that language to make that much more clear, so then that question doesn't come forward. So we don't have the recommendation of the new language, we just want to make sure we highlighted why we're bringing it back forward as we work through this adjustment moving into our second and third readings with this policy. Any questions on that?
Oh, so this is the first reading and
Yeah.
it'll come back, yeah.
The next section are the second readings of these policies, and our recommendation would be to move all of these to third readings because we brought such a large group of policies to you. And there are no changes in the recommendations we're making, and so we'll finalize these, add in our district name, a few of the adjustments that are in there that we have to fill in the blanks, but other than that, unless there's recommendations for changes to this other group of policies, we would just bring it forward to the third reading as is with the adjustment of adding in the blank spaces as needed.
Okay, we need a motion on this.
So the recommendation would be to
Two
move,
different motions.
yeah,
Okay.
move the first one, policy 3500 to a second reading, and then move the second group of policies to a third reading.
Okay, anybody on policy 3500?
I move that we move policy 3500 to a second reading.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move the,
What did well?
we take policy 1500P, 3005, 3010 and 3010-P, 3265, 3525, 3340, 4105, and 9803 to a third reading.
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, move on to our agenda, section 9. Any motions to approve or deny the fetal development video?
I move that we approve the fetal development video to satisfy SB 1046.
Second. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you're fine.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I would entertain a motion on the, what does it call this? Continual improvement plan for 25-26.
I move that we approve the continuous improvement plan or process for 2025 to 2026.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Would entertain a motion on item C to approve or deny portable classrooms.
I make a motion that we approve the portable classroom orders for the 3 buildings.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And then I would entertain a motion on item D to approve or deny the public school facilities cooperative fund request.
I make a motion that we approve the public school facilities cooperative fund request.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 And this is not on the agenda, it's just the language for that executive session. We have executive session, but we didn't have the language on the agenda.
Oh, it's not on here. Yeah.
It just needs to be, that's what needs to be said for the motion.
So are we?
We need to make a motion to go into executive session.
I make a motion, we go into executive session as per section 74-2061B Idaho Code to consider the evaluation in dismissal or disciplining to hear complaints or charges brought against a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual agent.
Second.
Trustee Moore,
Yes.
trustee Dempsey,
Yes,
trustee Tell,
Yes.
trustee Clark.
Yes.
we are in executive session.